Hi there everybody and welcome to episode 3 of the tutorial sect. I'm Icon and today we will go towards cultivation finally. So while we established our sect to some degree, we have now bedrooms for the outer disciples and for the inner disciple. We have unlocked a lot of other things. We are still yet waiting for more decorational items, but that'll come in no time. We have also brought up a workshop. We will now continue in the course of this episode to complete the workshop. We're going to put up a sewing table and a loom just to process these fabrics and create clothing out of that. Wait a sec, brownstone loom and brownstone sewing table. That was not my intention. I want to make everything inside here out of wood. It's just a selection from the last time, which still stuck to the blueprints. Okay, so here, sewing table and loom. I got it any moment. Hey, I'm telling you to cancel that. Why aren't they? There's a glitch in this game where sometimes you have to hit exactly the button. There's a area around these buttons where you have the feeling as if you were clicking them, but you're actually not clicking them. This is a little bit annoying and, well, you need to get used to it. Okay. And now we're just reproducing some of that timber and waiting out another night. So Helian Hua has now already accumulated a certain amount of experience for her foundation. I don't want to wait that long until we're done with all these preparations. So the first thing that we want to do, I want to check out if there's any job that only Helian can do. Right now that's the logging job, so we might want to produce one or two extra axes here. Here, let's go for some timber axes. Tool recrafting will be something you will be doing a lot. So Ruji already got one. Okay. So we're just going to put on the logging job for everybody else. And hunting shall be done by her here too. And now we're ready. So usually you have to wait until this is fully filled. But you always start out with an item called Forming Pill. So the Forming Pill does increase your base stats by 30% for 84 hours, but it also increases your foundation training by a significant amount. So we're going to tell her to eat that now. And yum! Now you see we are now at a full foundation rate here. Okay, so that's the point where we can promote her into the inner disciplehood. As we see here, there's only one law unlocked, the Grand Chariot, and we're now going to choose that law. One will excel in sword mastery, but it will take a long time to cultivate. Yes. Okay, now she's sitting down and receiving an epiphany. In case you were wondering what she's doing here right now. Okay. And now we are a cultivator again. So we have now access to Chi, and we can now establish a sect. So with that breakthrough, we can now get over into the sect menu and establish a sect. So here, over there, and there we go. So this is the tutorial. Let's see. Tutorial gang. No, it's a tutorial sect. Here we go. So creating a name, and now we can also select a leader. The most important thing is, while by founding a sect, we unlock more buildings. That's why I was rushing towards there. Now, we see a lot of stats here. We see our reputation. This determines how famous we are. and it also determines how difficult the enemies are that are attacking our sect. Here we have our good or evil, and here we have the sect's feng shui. More about later. Most important thing for now, we're going to choose the leader, and that's Helian Hua. Okay, wonderful. So here we don't need to think about the other things, because the most important screen is here. Here we can select what kind of food our sect shall eat, what kind of, here's all manner of different stats, but also there's a very important section of, let's see, here. Here you can configure what kind of messages should be always be shown by a pop-up, and here you can set up some automatic responses to a lot of things. We're going to work with these, but I wanted to showcase them, these functions, because it's easy to overlook them. Okay, but what does that now mean? Helian is now no longer in the work tab, and she is now a completely different person with completely different needs and completely different interests in life. The first big difference is that if we check this out, she now has a estimated lifespan of 120 more years. With normal mortals, they don't even know what their remaining lifespan would be. So also, you see now that there are now obsessions which somebody can suffer from. These are basically character flaws which you can acquire if you do certain things too often, like killing. And our mood needs have now changed too. She wants an artifact now. Her housing is horrible. Her clothing is bothering her, so we have to work a lot around that. But most importantly, the screen that was looking like that before, the cultivation screen here, has now changed to this pretty confusing window. So that's pretty easy to understand once you know what you're looking at. So up here, this is the experience bars in this game always look like this. So here we see we need to accumulate 1,000 experience points to break through to the next point. If you check out the laws here by clicking that, you see these are the steps to enlightenment before you are done. So, well, we can't see it here, but these steps are different for every law that you follow. And beyond that, down here is our mental state. The higher this is, the higher your experience gain is, and vice versa. So if you run out of mood, you will also run out of experience gain eventually. So worth mentioning here is also the inspiration tab. This is basically your skill window. So if we open this up, we see here the skills from our primary law. These are all the skills that you can learn when you're following this Grand Chariot law. And down here we have our general skills. Artifact mastery, that's basically combat. Alchemy, creating potions and such. Spellcasting, artifact creation. Protection, that's just damage reduction. And formations, well, formations are a topic for way later down the road. But most importantly right now is to notice that we see here she's at the chi shaping level, and here we have now access to the chi shaping skills. Down here we see there's more and more skills, but for now this ain't that important because our inspiration is none. So even the lowest of these skills needs 300 inspiration points to gather. So how to gain inspiration and all these things. Once somebody is a so-called inner disciple, what Helian now is, you also get these new buttons down there. These are quite important. So here you can define what the cultivator is supposed to do. Practice will be practicing to get experience points here. Then the person will sit down and meditate for experience points. Mind is just chilling out, having fun, and regaining the mental stability here. And train is a command which yields you extra inspiration XP. So the usual cycle for cultivators is like that. You try to fill up that mental stability bubble as good as you can, and then you go either practicing or training. So as you see here, while training, she's accumulating more inspiration points, and while practicing, she's accumulating more experience points. But that's that. For now, I'm going to send her on the mind training because she's pretty unhappy with things, and better to have her on a high mind rating. With the inner disciples unlocked, you have now also access to interaction with the world map. This is the entire cultivation world as we know it. You are living down here, and these are little villages around you. And out there, the red land here is showing the land of the other sects. So wherever there's red ground, this is the territory of other sects. These little spots here are basically adventure sites, which you can visit to generate resources. So here you see when you click them, there's an output window, which shows you what kind of resource you will gain when you stroll over there. So since I haven't found any metal whatsoever, we're going to do our first adventure here. So Mount Coppertomb has a output of iron ore, so let's use that. I'm going to select the adventure button, and Helian Hua is now able to travel over there in 0.79 days. So we're going to confirm that, and we want to repeat that adventure one time. Thank you. So once you do that, you should also put up a... Let's see, can I already do that is the question. Yeah, you should also put up a reward spot. The reward spot defines where the looted items from your adventures will land. And as you see here now, since we have established a sect, we have unlocked a lot of different new items in the sect tab. And we also unlocked a lot of different items in the decoration tab as well. So now we can finally put up some folding screens and some decorational shelves to make this place more comfy, because this is a way of making the room, of getting the room's quality higher. So I'm just putting down a lot of wooden furniture here. So let's check out, do we have still enough timber? Yes, we do. Let's recreate a couple of logs here, just every now and then. So the downside now of Helian's breakthrough is that our sect has now only 2 workers left. The benefit is that we now have a cultivator which is able to travel around the world and acquire items for us, which is really, really powerful. So we're now starting to build furniture here, and, well, this room is now still bare-boned, normal, and common, but, well, common is the overall attractiveness of this room. So the room layout is now no longer empty, as you see here. And, well, the quality of the furniture, if we check this out, these furniture items, they don't even have any quality attached to them. So the tier is what matters here. Since we have only wooden stuff, this room is not too fancy. But we don't have any higher quality materials here to work with, so it's okay. Let's wait for Helian to come back home, but in the time being, let's do something else here, because it's time to think about certain things that are really, really important. So we're going to build our observatory now. The observatory will allow us to see funny things. So now Helian is at this point. We're going to tell her to do resource collection, and she gathered 40 iron ore. So now let's build that observatory. Here we go. With the unlock of the observatory, you immediately unlock this Feng Shui icon. Once you click that, you can now see different colors. So the deeper green the color is, the more harmonious the Feng Shui is. This can change down into dark red if you don't go for these things accordingly, but now you might ask yourself, what the heck am I talking about? So if we check out the 5-element diagram here, we see that there are interactions. So we see here that steel or metal has a positive influence on water. So that means if you want to make water happy, you have to feed it with metal. If you want to make wood happy, you need to feed it with water. And as you might see, feeding water with metal sounds still a bit obscure, but feeding wood with water sounds even better. But feeding fire with wood is where we are finally thinking like, yes, this makes sense. Feeding earth with fire, well, if you consider baking clay, it also makes sense. And feeding metal with earth also makes kind of like sense because metal and earth have a deep connection with each other. So what does all that mean? This is a diagram of compatibilities. So if you have a wooden environment, you can work with either water elemental items or fire elemental items. These will never go into conflict with each other. But if you have a wooden environment, you should try to avoid to use metal items because metal destroys wood. And of course, as you see here, if you have a wooden environment, you shouldn't place down earthen things because they get destroyed by wood. More about that later. So far, just try to don't combine things that are opposite of each other on this diagram. This is the most important thing because you see fire melts metal, metal destroys wood. I guess that's like the axe that's chopping the tree. Earth destroys water. Don't ask me why. I can't really... but that's the basics. So for our wooden apartments here, we would now be able... If we would now be putting down a item which loves wooden energy, it would be very happy in this room. Here are the things. Here we need to step back from all this, and I need to explain something out of a completely new angle. So the items we build are different from each other. There's two types of items. Items which just basically spread a certain type of energy, like walls spread energy, decorations spread energy. They are spreading the energy they are made of. Now that we have built the observatory, we also see a little bit of a colored hue around these things. As you see here, the lamp here is spreading a green hue. That's the wood energy it is spreading. And the same goes for a lot of things. And there's a simple thing. You see here, wooden wall, green energy. And now there are buildings that are absorbing these energies. Everything which is flagged in the game as a Feng Shui building, see that green line there, marks it as a absorber of these energies. So basically, if you have an environment which is emitting wooden energy, the best thing you could place down would be a Feng Shui building made out of fire elemental stuff, because the Feng Shui building will be surrounded by an energy which is beneficial to it. If you have an environment which is fully made out of wood, and we would place down a earth Feng Shui building, it would be very, very unhappy because the earthen item would absorb the energy of something which is absolutely detrimental and devastating for it. We're going to put these things into practice. If you are now asking yourself, like, what the heck is he talking about? Don't you worry, I felt the same as you did before. If you are feeling like you understand it, good. Go forth. So this is really, really important for everything we build. That's why I mentioned in the first episode that you should just stick with one material, because you will never be able to conflict energies if all the energies are the same. The only thing that you're not able to pull off is a harmony of things, because it's actually better if you have a wooden environment which is feeding fire elemental stuff than just a wooden environment which is feeding wooden elemental stuff. And therefore, if we go back here, now that's why certain places are happier than others. So as we see here, the brownstone furnace is very happy. How come? How come, you might ask yourself? There's one thing worth mentioning. A couple of buildings in this game are having an innate energy. The furnace and the stove have an innate fire energy. I think that makes sense, doesn't it? But if we check this out now, the brownstone furnace is therefore something special. It's a Feng Shui building which is actually emitting energy by itself. So it's a producer of energy and an emitter of energy at the same time. So since it is made out of earth, it's a brownstone furnace. It's made out of earth. It's emitting fire energy and absorbing that fire energy at the same moment, and that's why it's happy. An earthen furnace getting fed by fire energy. Happy. Dark green. And that's how things work here. So if we check out that wooden well, the well spreads out a innate water energy. Well, that makes sense too. And therefore, the well made out of wood is really happy because he's emitting water energy and absorbing water energy at the same moment. So what does that mean? In these apartments, for example, we would be better off if our beds would be made out of a fire elemental material. Then these beds would be happier. What does that actually mean, happier beds and all that? It's quite simple. If you check out these rooms, they have this auspicity rating here. And the higher the rating here, the higher the harmony of these things is, and the higher the chance of something good is happening, and the better your magical development goes forward. So while it's not tremendously important to have perfect rooms, it is really important that this marker here is at least a slight green tint. Everything below that will attract bad luck. Okay, so we have now acquired ourselves some iron ore. Let's refine that. It's working the same as other things do as well in this game. Now, Hillian has now done her first adventure, and we want her now to learn better, because you're not only feeding Feng Shui buildings with certain energies, cultivators too. Since Hillian is a metal law cultivator, that means she wants to accumulate or absorb as much earthen chi as possible. And here you remember maybe these stone essences I was talking about the other episode. These are actually rock elemental chi gatherers. So that's what we're looking for. An item which actively accumulates energy on itself in a certain element. And this is what we're going to use to make Halian's cultivation attempts better. To do so, we will build a so-called cultivation chamber. Well, it's not so-called, but I call it like that. So, since we want to make her as happy as possible, metal cultivator seems to be a good idea to make that room out of brownstone. So we're going to bring up a pretty generous room. Don't make it too small. Once you know what you're doing, it's going to be easier there too. And we're again putting these doors on the lower side there. It's not that much of a, it's not that incredibly important to put these doors down there, but, well, sometimes I like to put beds into these cultivation chambers, and then it's pretty good to have the door on the southern side already, because then they qualify for a bedroom automatically, just as a thought on the side. So now we don't have to wait until that room is fully built. And just like we created wood offcuts the other day, we're now going to create brownstone offcuts now too. Because these floorboards, they also emit energy. Everything which is not specifically flagged as does not emit energy does emit energy. So Halian Hua had a inspiration. Wonderful. She gained some experience. So for example, roof tiles here, just a decoration that does not affect the Feng Shui. If that is not stated, like here with the floorings, it's actually spreading energy. The range of the energy spread is not always the same. A floorboard does actually only emit the elemental energy on itself. Like a floorboard has a range of 1. So basically, there's wood energy right here, and here, and here, and no longer here. Walls, though, as you see here, this hue is an indicator of how far the influence goes, as you see here. But we're going to talk about more of that later. Now we have to just build that room. Oh, dang, we have those raining spots down there. So let's move them away over here to the spirits, to the spirit grass. Okay. Now, we were running a little bit out of stone in between, so we're now refining these and creating that. Hillian now is at a point where she's quite happy again, and we could send her cultivating. But instead, I'm going to send her over to a other town. Let's see, let's send her to Mount Barren. She can loot there either cotton or stone essence. Both things are pretty appealing to us. So let's send her over there. The development of skills is the strongest in a dedicated cultivation chamber. That's why I'm not really spending any time right now for Halion to gather lots of experience points, because I already know that this won't be working out too well here at this point. So we've already assigned those offcuts. As you see, work is going slower because we have only 2 people here available. That's why I like to set up my sects to some degree before I transform the first cultivator or the first person into a cultivator. Okay, now we gained some cotton, and let's configure that at the wood loom and create ourselves some fabrics. Cotton needs 4 units per work step, and therefore we can do that work step 5 times. But every production cycle will bring us 20 fabrics, and we will be well off. So a passerby is in need of help. That's a random event which gives you an opportunity to just accept them and make them part of your sect. I personally think it's always a good idea at the beginning of a game to pick up people, even if their skills aren't that terribly good, because at the end of the day, we want to get things done more fast, so it's going to be good to have extra hands on board. So I'm just going to put up some extra beds here, but overall, you always should check out if these people are of a quality that you want to keep. The more desperate I am, the less picky I grow. The fuller my sect is, the more picky I grow. One thing is worth mentioning here, if you check out the sect button here, there's also a limit about the amount of disciples, so this is directly linked to the reputation of your sect. The reputation of your sect is increasing by lots of different things that you can do. We're going to talk about these in another episode. So I actually don't want to... what is that? Yellow fabric, wooden. Give me a sec. Yeah, okay, whatever. Can't change it at this point, can't I? So in the next episode, I will build up the cultivation chamber for Halion. I'm not going to do this in this episode because this is a very, very a very important topic, and I don't want to have that at the end of an episode like that. So thank you so much for watching. It's been my pleasure. I hope you guys are enjoying the show as well. We are really just a step away from doing great things with our first inner disciple, and I hope you guys are staying tuned. As usual, drop your comments down below, leave a thumbs up on that video to make it more visible to other people, and of course, check out my channel. I do daily content, so you might want to subscribe and turn on those notifications. You won't miss anything in the future. Beyond that, I hope you have a great time and see you soon. Bye-bye.